Hey everyone, Poster, welcome back to another Polymaster video. And today, let's talk about the Glalie grid stuff, right? Which I haven't talked about yet. So, Glalie's sync grid, right? There really are just honestly like three different types of ways, of using Glalie. It really depends on how you use Glalie, right? First way, the most optimal way probably, is to use it with Ice Steven, right? And if you don't have Ice Steven, the second way you could use it with Dugong, Price and Dugong. And then the third way is, just, I guess, use it as sort of like an off tank that could, attention here, redirect some damage when your tank needs like a bit of a breather to heal up a bit with the X regen, all of that stuff. Fit a sort of Singsu Leaf position, except can't tank that well. So yeah, those are the basic sort of uses for Glalie in general, right? So let's get into this, and we'll talk about all of those, right? So at 1 out of 5, 1 out of 5, you actually have like a lot of options. However, unlike what was the other one? I think it was like Mighty Una, right? None of these options are that great. You just have like a lot of them. You just don't. Nothing's like fantastic here, right? You do have some good stuff. Not saying there's no good stuff at all. You have Powder Stow MGR, which is fantastic, and you have X Regen all MP Refresh, which is good, but it's not anything like amazing, because generally like the regen lasts for quite a bit. I mean, it doesn't last for the whole battle, but it lasts for quite a bit, right? Usually 2-3 sync cycles, something around that, right? So you don't really need the MP refresh unless you are, playing some MP limited mode, right? Like a Valville or whatever, right? So you can pick that up if you want. If you're running Hail, pick up Hasty Hail. That's always nice to have as well. And then the rest, probably just dump it into, stats, and then pick up Attention here, and then Unflappable, so don't get flinched. And then you could also redirect some damage. And if you're using Ice Beam, obviously, drop Powder Snow, pick up Ice Beam. Pretty, standard, right? No point really picking up the Powder Snow power-ups because you're not going to be doing damage with Powder Snow. It's a 1-gauge move. 1-gauge AoE move, like, the amount of damage from that is absolutely minuscule. You're mainly using Powder Snow to bypass turns, for the most part. And if you're lucky, you get a Friesen. Speaking of lucky and getting a Friesen, at 2 out of 5. 2 out of 5, you do get Hostile Environment on Powder Snow. So that's pretty poggers, right? Hostile Environment 2 on Ice Beam as well. Obviously, the difference here is quite self-explanatory. Powder Snow, it is 1 gauge, so less, gauge consumption if you're using Powder Snow. Also hits, AoE, so you do have a higher chance of freezing at least one target. However, that target is random, right? And in opposition to Ice Beam, which does have 1 gauge higher, does a bit more damage, right? Not that you're doing damage, clearly. And also, you do, it's a more targeted freeze, right? You have a higher chance to freeze a target that you need, which is generally, the middle Pokemon, right? In some circumstances, maybe you want to freeze the sides. Like, for example, this Halloween full first battle, right? You probably would want to freeze the Gengar as soon as possible, right? So something like that. Again, it really depends on the circumstances, right? And as for some other stuff, got Healing Hail, so more Hail stuff, right? So let's talk about that split. So first of all, Hail. So if you're running it in Hail, you definitely do want to pick up both of these, right? Hasty Hail and Healing Hail, so you want to do that. And the rest, it really depends on what sort of what you're trying to go for, right? If you want Powder Snow, if you want that AoE freeze, you go for obviously Powder Snow down here. Hostile Environment. If you're going for the Ice Beam freeze, then you want to instead pick up the Ice Beam stuff, which again pretty self-explanatory, pretty reasonable, right? And then for the rest, pick up a Flapple, or if you want, pick up some stats, right? Some defensive stats or whatever. Generally. There's like there's a defense plus 20 down here, and you should be good, right? So yeah, that's generally what you want to do over here. Again, if you have any flinch, opponents that flinch, might pick up a Flapple instead. But yeah, that's for 2 out of 5 in Hail. If you're not running it in Hail, you really don't have too many options, honestly. It's just basically the same, except you get a bit more freedom to pick up like some more some more stats, right? Maybe attention here, MP refresh, because if you're not running in hail, you're not tanking with Glalie, right? Because you don't get any regen at all, you don't get anything. You're basically trying just to redirect some damage for some time to let your main tank heal up a bit with the regen. So you might want an attention here, MP refresh, right? That could be helpful. But yeah, either ice beam or powder snow. It really depends on you. And then the last bit, you could again just throw it into like stats or whatever, right? Speed, or speed, HP, pick up some of those. But yeah, not something extremely interesting at 2 out of 5 either. At 3 out of 5. Also, by the way, if you guys are wondering, yo, what's going on with Frost Breath? Frost Breath is really bad. Don't pick it up. Don't use it. Frost Breath is really bad. I mean, like, Frost Breath, it's 2 gauge, 41, and then like Glalie's Mega in general is just not that great. Like when you Mega it, I think it gets like 3 different. Oh, never mind. It's two stat boost. You get a boost in special attack, which you don't need. I mean, it's a good amount, but like you're not getting any. Like your strongest move is still like a Frost Breath, and it's barely under 300, which is good for a support, but like you're still not doing damage with like Frost Breath. Like come on, after you Mega, and then the speed you really don't need because you have like a 1 gauge powder snow spam, which is already good enough for your gauge. It's not like 225 speed is like the end of Glalie, right? And plus you have hasty hail as well if you're running it in hail, which generally should be, right? So anyways, also speaking of its stats, one note of caution, defense stats are not good. They're just straight up not. I mean, they're not terrible, but they're just not like amazing if you're trying to tank either. So that's where 3 out of 5 comes in. 3 out of 5 makes Glalie a much better tank because 3 out of 5 has Ice Shell, which increases your defense by 50% in a hailstorm. Then Glalie's defense just like skyrockets, right? Like this is like from really bad defense, turn it into straight up like really, really good defense, right? I think it's what, 200, is it 250 or so? Let me see. 169 times 0.5. Yeah, 253. Something like that, right? So that's obviously, fantastic. So, anyways, let's get into some 3 out of 5 grids, starting with some hail as usual, right? Personally, my favorite build is something like this, right? You pick up healing hail over here, pick up the extra 20 defense, and then ice shell, so you get even more defense, right? And then come up here, pick up first aid, and then team toughen up, right? So you get team toughen up, 50% chance, and this is assuming we're main tanking with Glalie, right? Which is, if you're running hail, it's not the worst idea in the world. If you're not running hail, I wouldn't do it. But if you are running hail, you could definitely go for it, especially with ice shell, right? You get first aid 4, obviously heals you up quite a bit. Team toughen up, every time you get hit, you have 50% chance of increasing the defense of all allied sync pairs, right? Which is nice. And then you got healing hail 1, heals every time you attack in hail, and then extra 50% on your defenses during a hailstorm. And the reason why I'm not picking up hasty hail is usually like your 2 options, Dugong, and these are your 2 main options for hail teams. I mean, there wouldn't be much point in running hail if you're not running either of these 2, right? Either Sand Slash or Dugong. Sand Slash, you could pick up hasty hail himself, right? And that should be sufficient enough. And Dugong, right, if you just run like some other like speed sport, you should be fine, right? Or even like depending on your team comp, you might not even need to, just because again, Powder Snow is just such a great move, right? In terms of all that. However, there are some other things that you could run. Like for example, if you're like running it with Dugong, right? And you're trying to run a freeze synergy, right? Because Dugong has, if I could find it, freeze synergy 16, which is very, very high, right? Freeze synergy 16, that's an insane multiplier over here. If you're doing that, then you might want to, pick up some freeze stuff as well, right? Freeze stuff. Just go up here, Ice Beam, pick up Hostile Environment 2. Either that or again Powder Snow, because Dugong does have an AoE move, right? Icy Wind is AoE, so maybe it's not the worst idea to go for Powder Snow, Hostile Environment here instead. Either way, both really good options. As for some other stuff, second Powder Snow move gauge refresh, that would be incredibly overkill in terms of move gauge. Like if both of these activate, you're spending one move gauge to get like potentially like 3 back, right? Because the other one, just the time, the natural regen for move gauge, and then like you get like 1 over here and 1 over here. Like yeah, it's insane. So that would be fine. I wouldn't really pick up Attention Here Barricade because, well, you don't have energy. But, like, in general, I don't really like passives like these. Like, Attention Here only has, like, 1 MP, and then, like, you're spending, like, 9 energy to get, like, another extra special defense. Not that great of a bargain, in my opinion. So, yeah, if you are running, like, trying to, like, run Invigorating, not Invigorating Hail, Free Synergy, right? Do something like this, that'll be fantastic. As for some like non-hail grids, if you're not running hail, you just can't tank with Glalie. You just can't tank with Glalie, right? However, you can make her an off tank, which again is something you want to use. Like if you want to, run her, you could run her like as like a budget if you don't have Sings to Leave Mega Venusaur. You could run her as a budget Mega Venusaur, sorta, right? Give everyone regen. You're much faster Mega Venusaur, right? With the, again, 1 gauge Powder Snow. And you could also freeze instead of poison. Which in general, freeze is a much better status condition than poison, but Mega Venusaur, much higher chance for that to happen, right? And it doesn't really go away. Freeze is much more powerful than poison, however. It's just much harder, right? And then, as usual, pick up the Powder Snow stuff if you want to run Powder Snow. If not, then the Ice Beam stuff, right? I mean, you guys get the drill by now, right? Stuff like that. Just running her, as a sort of off tank-ish, right? Without hail. But generally, you do want to run her in hail, right? So, anyways, yeah, that's me with this one. I guess hope you guys enjoy. Let me know guys think in the comments down below. Also, we will be streaming some more Dynamax Adventure stuff later today. This is going to be a bit more later than usual, probably like 7 or 8 PST, right? I'm not really sure. I haven't, it depends on how my other, work stuff goes. So stay tuned for that. I do finally have the Shiny Charm, which is pretty poggers, which obviously, increases the rates for Shinies in Dynamax Adventure. So hopefully, Day 3, can we finally get a shiny in the Dynamax Adventures? That'll be nice. And yeah, if you guys, again, want to join as well, you can, we'll send the link codes and you guys can join in with me and hopefully get some shinies. So anyways, again, good luck with whatever you're doing, I guess. I'll see you guys in the next one.